Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy V Moss. Man, every time we have somebody from the state of Virginia on the show, it's a special episode. Very important to show love for this place that has given so much to me and obviously also produced the Neptunes for Ellen Chat. Our guest today, my man, who?
What's
What's
up,
up,
man?
man? How you?
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm great. How's everything?
It's good, man. We chopped it up a little bit before we got started recording, man. You know, when we talk about this VA love, it's deep because we all know somebody that we know, and like the connections are there. So before we get started, go ahead, introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are, where you from.
For the world, I am who? WHO. Don't forget my question mark, please. I am a producer and an artist. I rap, sing, all the above, and I'm from Newport News, Virginia.
So you was telling me earlier your family's from New York. So have you always lived
Yep.
in Newport News? Or did you
I
come down here?
I have. I'm luckily enough. I've been in Newport News my whole life, but I have a brother that's 10 years older than me. So he was in New York till he was 10. And then my mom had met my dad, they had moved, but my whole family is still in New York. It's like my second home. I go there. I know New York as well as I know Virginia.
Word, word. What part of New York?
My dad's from Queens, so
Oh,
left rack, similar to where Nori is from. So that whole Nori, Aga, Super Thug era, I got to see like in real time because my dad was literally from there, and then my mom is from Spanish Harlem, so she
word.
grew up with like Lisa was her best friend growing up, Mark Anthony, African Mambata, and all of those people were there. That's like Lower East Side, and then my grandma moved to the West Side, so I
Word.
know the East Side and I know the West Side.
Talk a little bit about how you got started doing music.
My brother used to freestyle. So we have a 10-year age gap. So when he was 16, I was 6. So things that he was into was very like moving, like music driven, especially coming from New York and coming to Virginia where it's kind of country and but coming from a city, he still wanted to keep like that city aspect. So all the things he was listening to was like Hove and Eminem and Beanie Single, Freeway, like all those people. So naturally, as a younger brother, you want to be like your older brother. So
Hmm.
you're just trying to attach. So he would freestyle rap, and at first, it's all giggles and you're shy. Like, why are you doing this? I don't know how to react. To I started rapping, started picking it up, and then I think I got serious about it, like production. I started producing. Couldn't find beats to rap on. Partially, that didn't sound like Neptune beats, to be like quite frankly. So I started producing when I was in college, so 2011 ish. I was about 18, 19. And that's when I married the two. Like the rapping was more of just like I could rap is fun. I made a song in high school. I actually performed with Masego. Me and
Hmm.
Masego were in a group together at Woodside called DMV, with Scoozy and a bunch of other people as well.
Word.
Um, but I was like in a little rap group and I was rap, but I never had like music. And then my junior year, I was able to make a song with my neighbor. And he actually has a group called J Man. So they went on to do some things with T Grizzly and went on tour with Riff Raff and did a lot of dope things. But his dad was the first one to say, "All right, let me put you in a booth." It was a closet booth, but it was a booth. So that was my first song in 11th grade. And then from there, I just kept going.
I think that's something that a lot of people get to do when they get to college is like you love rap, you just be in the room in the dorm, you start freestyling but it's easy to find out quick that like not everybody's built for it. Like you got to have a passion for it. You
Yo,
know what I mean? Like
never lie, bro. Never lie. And that's where it really got. Luckily for me, I went to a tech first school. So my school, I went there to play basketball. So I thought, I was like, I'm going to play basketball. I'm about to be the man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Small little D2 school. Like, it wasn't even anything that big. I'm going to be the man. Well, it was a tech school. So I didn't know what that meant. So I went there and they're like, all right, you want a MacBook or you want a PC? And I'm like, well, I take a MacBook, I guess. It's in the tuition, right? So they're giving it away. So I'm like, bet. Come to find out, we had a whole music studio and everything on campus. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be something. This is gonna be something.
that's dope. That's dope. Cause like my first couple years at Hampton, this is back in like 2005, 6. That's when everybody figured out how to hop on Fruity Loops. And it was like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that era.
yes. chopping everything up, just randomly, just sampling all my mom's old Earth, Wind, and Fire and stuff, and like make
Mm.
real fake imitation Kanye beats. You know what I mean? Like, but it was fun. But again, like I saw, to that point, like I said, it takes a different commitment and appreciation and passion for it to pursue it. But I saw Mos Def in an interview earlier this year with a quote that was basically like, most people that talk about music or have a valuable perspective on music at some point tried to make it. And so like I
Yeah,
think that definitely resonated with me from the fact that, there's a different level of appreciation I can have in a conversation with someone like you who's like really in it. Because at some point I sat down behind the boards or I sat down, on my computer trying to make it. But like I know and appreciate how hard it is and how difficult it is to make something like that and really pursue your passion like that. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
So obviously we both kids from Virginia. That's why we here. And specifically you in the 757. Just talk
Hmm.
about what P and Chad mean to you and how that inspired you to get into music.
I mean, Pharrell's my favorite artist. So like the Neptunes in a whole, with Chad as well, because you can't have Pharrell without Chad. There's no
Yep.
like, luckily I don't want to have any spoiler alerts, but he definitely is part of that movie, because that's the story in real life, right? You can't separate the two. But even throwing Shay in there and NERD, like NERD was my real intro to Pharrell
Mm.
as an artist. Prior to that, I liked all the music that they were making, but I didn't know it was Pharrell. I just knew, what is this on the radio that sounds different? Like, this is crazy. I'm singing mystical. Looking back at it, that was in like fifth grade, bro. That wasn't definitely the stuff I should be listening to, but mystical and the Jay-Z records and the like all the things he was doing around the time, like it coming up and realizing when grinding came out and we're all banging on the table, like people, like the kids these days think we playing like that was a national thing, that was a global thing. Like
Yes.
you couldn't go the whole school year without hearing that, and I was in sixth grade, so that was like every lunch we rap battling, that's all we doing.
Mm-hmm.
And someone telling me like, yeah, he's from here, right? I was like, what? They're like, yeah, no, he's from here. I'm like here, like, yeah, like Virginia Beach. Like, there's no way. So I think after that, it really opened my eyes up to be like, damn, I can make it.
Right.
I can be something out of this area. And prior to that, I mean, we saw Iverson and Michael Vick, but we ain't see no me. Like, it wasn't no music people we start to see that. And it's like, man, it's crazy. Definitely something in the water for real.
Yeah, man. And like it's just a matter of I think coming up, and we're not that far apart in age, but like just understanding and hearing how much P and Chad were doing, but also Timbo and Missy. But then like getting to that point where we realized they were from here was another like, oh wow. Like
Crazy.
that makes it even crazier how like dope the music it is
Mm-hmm.
and how proud we are. Like and even more enjoyment, right? Like we began to
Mm-hmm.
seek out more music from them. Like we paid attention every time Timbo was producing for anybody, right? Or P was producing for anybody. Like my introduction to them was really comes from my godbrother who like his mom and my mom are best friends since middle school. Their birthdays on the same day. And so he's like 6 years older than us. Like, because
Mm.
he has a younger brother who's the same age as me. So like we used to just he was a DJ. So he would be in the basement. There's crates everywhere. And like we just listening to what's coming out of the basement. We just in awe. Like, but I remember, and I told the story on the podcast before, is like in one of the crates on the end, because the crates got the holes in it. On the end, I could see Melvin Flint the Hustler album in there. And then once he started playing that shit for me, like, and I realized like
It's
that stuff is produced by these guys, like it was over. So like he definitely was the one that made it a point to tell us like all that music that we was loving was coming from guys that was from here. And then like, I was the first one in the extended family that had a CD burner. So then he would ask me to like
mm,
hop on
those are
Napster.
the days.
Like that's when, I never forget one of the songs he had me download, Beanie Man, Girls Them Sugar, and I was like, this is these guys, right? Like this, yo. So, again, like that's something that we talked about in here before too, is just like the way that the music, not just from Pharrell and Chad, but just music in general, is part of our culture and part of the family is passed down. Like that's a huge part of why we love the music and why the music is so important to us.
1000%. I mean, and then like you said, that same feeling that you get would be DJ Kyrie that's from DJ Kyrie that's on 103 Jams. He actually lived in a condo place where I grew up at. Like I grew up in a condo all the way uptown in Lee Hall area where I'm from. And he lived there. And I would go to his door. I don't know if he remembers this, but I was like 8. I would go to his door and knock on his door, like, can I have CDs? And he would give me like Missy Elliott singles, like from the last year. He would give me Pharrell's, like the Neptunes, like all that stuff. And I had like one disc where it was just one song, a radio edit, and then a beat. And I would just spin them jumps like they were albums, like over and over again on a Walkman. Yeah, that was the days.
Yeah, man. So who are some of the other people, some other music inspirations that you've had?
Um, Shoot, in the early years, I was a real big fan, obviously of Pharrell, NERD, and then Ludacris was the big one for me. The Clips were a big one for me. Later, that evolved into me being a really big Pusha T fan.
Hmm.
Jay-Z, of course, I love Jay-Z growing up. Kid Cudi, Kanye, everything that was Rockefeller at that time, because my brother was 10 years older than me, that was like a big thing for me. So anything that was Jay or Freeway or Beanie Siegel or Young Guns, like any of those things, like to me, which I have a friend Lo that's on Apple Music, and he always like argues about Jay-Z's best works, and I'm like, bro, the Dynasty got to be in that, like, because when I was growing up, the Dynasty was it. I had never heard nothing as good as that.
Right.
That was like top tier. So, and then later Tyler started coming, which I hated. I'm gonna be honest with you, I hated Tyler when I first heard him. I was like, "What is this?" I was in college. I was like, "This is ridiculous." Um, but Tyler definitely became a big inspiration to me. And then like some left field stuff, like Red Hot Chili Peppers. I grew up on
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
Chester French. I grew up on that. Um, let's see, like there was punk rock that was like mixed in with the things that I was listening to, as well as like Spanish music, of course. So
Yeah.
Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez. Like I heard all those things growing up.
Couple of things that you talked about. Like one, I think this comes up every now and then, but like Ludacris doesn't get the credit he deserves as being one of the best rappers of our era,
Bro,
generation, man. Like
it,
those
it
first three
it's
albums,
crazy.
bro, those first three albums were crazy.
I don't think people realize how good he really was because he did, and this is terrible, but it's because he's so loved as an actor.
Hmm.
He did so well crossing over that it kind of hindered him on the back end side. But like Chicken and Beer is a classic. Southern Hospitality is a classic. Like them albums are like, man, Southern Hospitality is like that's like
And that's something that we
classics.
talked about too, is like Ludacris. It's like when you think about similarities between Luda, Busta, and Nori, right? Like
Hmm.
they entertained us with the music videos. You know what I mean? Like, so it almost was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of took away from it because it's like, oh, well, Ludacris has got these big arms getting get back video.
yeah.
Busta Rhymes got these crazy, like, at the same time, like, that doesn't take away from the fact that the music was still like,
It was a Kanye beat. It was still
right.
hitting. Like it was still nuts. Like
Rapping was still very high caliber, but like people, I think that's something that people don't. I think people take for granted is like you put him in this. You think the character part of it takes away from how like
from
good.
how good it is. I
Yeah.
think Word of Mouth was that album where I realized that like hearing Growing Pains, something
Hmm.
that's a little less chill, dun, 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 and it's like chill, and the way him rhyming of like explaining the struggle, what he came through. I'm like, nah, this dude is great. But he understood a long time before we got to where we are now is that the character sells.
Hmm.
That's why Mystical was all over the
Yep.
Old Dirty Bastard was all over it because that's what sells was the quirkiness.
Yeah, man. And definitely, I'm another kid at Rockefeller. Shout out, I know you talking about low key. Shout out low key. We gotta get you on the show, bro.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
uh, like a lot comes up in discussing 2003 as one of the better years for rap. And so that always is a conversation that's usually led by Black Album and Get Rich or Die Trying. But to me, the my favorite album in 2003 is Philadelphia Freeway.
1 second, real quick. I forgot 50. I was thinking 50 when you were asking me. 50 and G Unit is definitely high on my list. We can continue. Freeway Philly. We can continue.
Philadelphia Freeway is one of the best albums, like one of the best hip hop albums ever. But like I think like to that point, 2003 was such a crazy year that people don't even realize, or maybe people missed it. Like What We Do is one of the best hip hop songs, rap songs ever. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's such a solid body of work. And I've actually had a chance to meet Freeway when I was living in Philly. Not
Fire.
to be able to give him them flowers in person was definitely dope. But you know, it's Rockefeller, too many hits, man. Too many hits.
I don't think we'll ever see a camp like that ever again, to be honest with you.
Nah, man. People don't want to like you gotta really put your ego aside. You gotta really have the leadership. That's the part of it. Is like you gotta have
Mm-hmm.
leadership that have the vision for it, but then you gotta have the people who want to like hop in line and say, okay, cool, where are we going? Like,
Right,
you know,
correct. And I think that's a big thing that's missing now. I think about it all the time. That's what's missing now is that no one wants to go through the growing pains of like having to artist develop and have someone there to artist develop. Like I didn't have anyone to quote unquote artist develop me. So my friends listening to Pharrell, listening to Neptunes, listening to all these people around me that I enjoy became my artist development. TDE is probably the only label that still does that, like
right,
outwardly that we can see. But I agree with you that that's why I say I don't think it can exist unless it's someone from that cloth or that caliber to come in and say, okay, it's not just about hits, it's
right,
about music
right,
in totality.
right. Yeah, man. And then listen, Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication might have been
Boy.
like one of my favorite albums ever. Like my my best my best Caucasian friend. Me,
There you
me
go.
and Andrew literally went to elementary, middle, and high school together. Like just talked to him last week. He actually just had twins, so I got to go out to Seattle and see him soon.
Congrats to him. That's fire.
But like we used to run that album crazy, crazy. And we that's also part of, like and I'm not surprised to hear you say it as someone who is a fan of Pharrell and Chad, a fan of Nerd, is like that them coming in helped us feel better about continuing to listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers, continuing to dabble in
Mm-hmm.
Biscuit and Corn or whoever, and no
Yep.
doubt, right? Like they were
Yep.
able to say, okay, cool. Like I've been doing it anyway, but like these guys came and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to more of it. I'm gonna be proud to like really have this expansive taste that I can listen to more than just what everyone else thinks I should be listening to.
Right. And I think that that was, I'm not saying he was the only one because Jay-Z was big on, oh, listening to Nirvana and things like that. But
Yep.
I think
Yep.
Pharrell having it in his caliber of what he was doing and listening to like In Search of and listening to Fly or Die and listening to that and then listening to, like you said, like Californication, you start to listen to things, you're like, this feels familiar. Like this
Right.
feels really good. And then it goes from there to like Stadium Arcadium and that big
Yep.
album. It's like, oh, this feels Snow Day, things like that kind of feels like an NER, like NERDS type record.
Yep.
And then of course him like bringing in Chester French and people like that. You're like, okay, like he really co-signs these people. It's
Right.
not just a thing to be different. Like he really likes this music.
You mentioned a little bit too, but just talk about, your Dominican Puerto Rican heritage and how that kind of like that music gets into your inspiration and stuff that you would listen to as a kid in that space.
So it gave me a different ear because my grandparents, like my father's side is Dominican. So my grandparents on my dad's side, they only spoke Spanish. They didn't speak English, which was kind of for me, and I'm honest, and I know I get nailed to the wall. My Spanish isn't amazing. Like my Spanish is subpar. Like it's okay. I can make music. I can't really speak it fluently. It's kind of broken. Um, More so for me living in Virginia and not in New York, where like my dad's like, no, you got to learn English because my dad and my mom didn't learn English first. They learned Spanish first. My dad learned English in fourth grade. My mom learned English in first grade. So it wasn't that there's neither of their first languages.
Gotcha.
My dad's like, you got to learn English, you got to learn English. So hearing the Spanish music when I went to New York and then my dad listening to rap, like early like rap, we're talking about like Run DMC, KRS One, that era rap, then house music. doing house music. My mom listening to like Lisa and her listening to um, a plethora of different like things from Spanish music to house music. All those things kind of blended together for me. So now my ears, I can take sounds from this genre and take sounds from this genre and put them together and
Gotcha.
make something new, you know?
I know you've been working with United Masters. We all know what Steve Stoute means
Yes.
culture, right? Like he's been in the music industry, been around. Like, how has working with that team at United Masters kind of helped your career? And explain to people who might not understand like how that is a different route than the traditional, I gotta get signed to a label.
hmm So in this era that we're in right now, the music label can enhance your growth in sense of like if you have something that's already rolling and you're already known, they can just fuel your fire, but they can't. There's not a place where you can go and grow. United Masters is different because it is somewhere where you can go and you can grow with them, and they're gonna say, okay, let's see what we can do. Case in point, I went there from another distributor and they were like, we know how we can use you. Like while you're finding your sound, while you're doing the things that you're doing. Because remember, it's very, for people who don't know, what I make is very left field because it it's familiar as far as the sound that's out now, but it's very Neptunes, Kanye, Tyler, like it's that driven. But the lyrics and everything that I rap are a little bit more life, a little bit more serious. There's no cursing. There's none like I have a a good balance of fun records, but serious records as well, because I believe music needs to be pushed with a message. The record labels weren't into that, especially from like when I started doing it. So we'll say I didn't really get good. We'll say like decent 2014, 2015 time to now. That really hasn't been what they've been looking for. So
Gotcha.
I would go and meet with the execs and the SVPs. I remember having a meeting with Sean Barron, who is over at he's in charge of Ty Dolla Sign's label. He was at Motown Records when I had met him, and he was like, "Bro, you're dope, and you can rap, and you have a good message, and all your music is good, but from a label standpoint, there's boxes that need to be checked." So I was like, "Where can I go where these boxes don't exist?" United Masters. So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So they're like, "Hey, we know how to use you. We're gonna start putting you on sync." I'm like, "Sync? What the heck is that?" They're like, "Bro, you know when you turn on the TV and you hear that music in the background and stuff? Yeah, that's sync. Those are sync. They pay you for that." I'm like, "Okay, like whatever I got to do to like push myself." I'm like, "All right, cool. If that's what you want to do." Within a year's time there, I became top 2% sync artists at United Masters, which
Wow.
is crazy because they have 1.5 million artists. So I'm up there with like Toby No Winway's above me. Like that's like the top, right? And I'm a little bit underneath him, but NFL, NBA, the XFL, I did their theme song with Big X the Plug,
Wow.
Champion, multiple ESPN. Obviously, NFL used me on their socials. They used me on NFL Network. I've been on All American. Hulu have picked me up for some commercials. So like all these people start paying me. Diageo, they just shout out to them. They just Diageo owns Bacardi and all those big liquor brands. They used Dale Wepa on their one of their campaigns for the Latin Billboard Awards.
Word.
All these things started coming that I wouldn't have access to if I wasn't at United Masters. I have someone, shout out to my man Zach Slater, and Jacob, who are at United Masters that actually hit me and say, "Hey, this company needs something like this. Can you make it? Yes or no?" Yes, I can make it. As always, yes. Yes, I got you. So I make whatever it is that they're asking for, and then we pitch it off, and then it gets played. Next thing you know, they're like, I'm watching TV, like literally watching TV, and they're cutting on an NBA playoff game, and then my song comes on, and
That's
I'm like, dang, like that. I knew I got paid, but to hear it and like in real time is crazy. So United Masters is a good, it's a good tool, and it's a good place to go and grow. Um, the people there really do care about music. They really do care about you, but in the same point, they want you to push yourself.
right.
So if you're pushing yourself and they see that, they're willing to say, "All right, cool, let's do it." I mean, a big one would be Big X the Plug. Like when he got signed to United Masters and they were just saying, okay, we're gonna push him. I mean, he had like 1,000 monthly listeners, if that, on Spotify to multi-platinum number one records. Like Big X the Plug went from essentially a nobody to one of the biggest in the game right now.
Yeah.
So that shows you the power in there. As long as you have a team, you have people willing to push you. It can happen.
Neptune's time, bro.
Neptune's time. Neptune's time.
Let's talk about the first song
Mm-hmm.
that really stuck with you and said, I'm a fan of these guys. I gotta hear more from these guys.
Rockstar. Lap dance. That was like, bro, what? That was crazy to me hearing that. And then the real thing, like the one, if I was like, this is the one, that's what introduced me to them. And I was like, this is crazy. She Wants to Move was it. I was sold. I would run downstairs to my mom's room before I went to school to watch the video on TRL, like in the morning or whatever the MTV videos were before we went to
Yeah,
school. I'd
yeah.
be running downstairs to hear that song before I go to school.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think just like during that time, like the concept of because at that point, like I had heard my origin story with them is basically my god brother who's a DJ who I was talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
me and his little brother to a party he was DJing for the girls that went to our high school that were like
Mm.
we were freshmen. So we not supposed to be there at all.
Right. You know, the hierarchy.
Yeah. So we sitting in the corner minding our business, but he played Philly's Most Wanted, Please Don't Mind. And
Mm.
the place went nuts. So I'm talking about, we in Richmond, Virginia. So it's not like we in up north somewhere where like that's
Right,
supposed to
right.
ring an offer. Like this is and for that to get the response was crazy. So like then following up once I realized like because the the Spy Mob version of In Search of came out after that. So like that came out in 2002. So by that point, I'm like you said, Rockstar and Lap Dance was like, what, bro? Like this is
Crazy.
crazy. And then being able to hop on Napster and go back and get the digital version, the first version, like it was
Crazy.
out of there. Like it was like those were the guys from that point. Like I remember before I left to go to college, me and my one of my best friends that I got a group of like friends that sometimes will come on the show and do an episode. Like my boy Ray, I spent like maybe like a few weeks just downloading as many songs as I could. Like and I made two copies of all the discs. It was like 8 discs, and I gave it to him. I was like, here, bro. Like that unreleased Roscoe project was on there.
Roscoe P, yeah.
Like crazy, crazy stuff, bro. But
Audio footage was probably up there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exclusive audio footage with the OG version of Knock Yourself Out.
So,
Like,
yeah, people don't know that was a Clips beat verse.
bro,
Yeah.
bro. So, we talked about your Hispanic heritage earlier. P and Chad have dabbled. They've done some songs that I feel like, obviously they've done songs with Latin artists, but also like some songs that maybe not haven't been with Latin artists, but have a little bit of a
Hmm.
Hispanic flair to it. So give me your top five, including whether it's with the artist, a Hispanic artist, or whether it's like inspired by, Latin music. Like, what's your top five Neptunes track with the Hispanic flair on it?
So I got you. Senorita with
Hmm.
Justin Timberlake. I would say Vato, Snoop Dogg, Be Real. Um, let's see, Vato, Blanco, Pitbull
Hmm.
from the Tokyo Drift soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah.
Rosalia, she has a song called what is it called? I know it's Mono. I had to go. I had written these down. Moto Mami.
Yeah. Yep. I know you're talking about.
Moto Mami is a big one, and the Grail for me has to be beautiful. That's And I think more so maybe because the video is like in Brazil, but it just sounds like a Latin, like it just sounds very Latin-esque.
I hear you.
It
I
sounds
hear,
very island-esque.
I hear you.
I think on the short list of that though, it's not a Neptunes, but it is a Pharrell production, Safari by J Balvin and
Mhm.
Bia. That's
Yep.
my joint, man. That's knocked it out the park.
That joint's fire too. Like you mentioned BA, like I didn't realize until like maybe last year how Family was the one who like discovered BA. I thought that was crazy.
Yep.
That's dope.
Yep.
Like
It was
he's
Family and Shay were actually her first managers. She was at I Am Mother with Cap G. And there is for people who don't, are they're hip on Bia now, but who don't know where she began. If you go to her SoundCloud and you go type in Bia, she has a unreleased like snippets on one of her very first. I think it was called uh I want to say it's Perico Princess mixtape, but it was early when she was Pharrell. Man, she got some snippets that she got on there with Pete at her.
yes. I know you're talking about. I know you're talking about.
Bro,
Yeah,
yo, them jumps is crazy. I'm mad I never got those songs. I
bro.
forgot what it was. It was like blame it on me. You can blame G4 sitting on the runway. Something, something sitting on it, bro. Crazy, crazy.
Yeah, man. Like my top five Latino P, whatever you want to call it. I really rock with that Omar Apollo joint.
Hmm.
I got you. That joint's fire.
Yep.
Um, had to throw some Nori on there. I think a lot of people miss this joint. Nori, Wheezy, and P Finito.
Yes, I know that song. I thought you were gonna say Uno Mas. I was like, that was on my list at first. Yes,
I got Vato on there. I'm glad you had that on there. That made me feel better.
crazy.
Dog, like shout out to B. Like the fact Be Real is the sprinkle that makes it like
It's so crazy, bro.
official. I remember when that video debuted on MTV, whatever one of those in the video
Yep.
joints. Like that
He
was
was in the car. It was popping the
yo,
truck. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yo, that joint
yeah.
was sick. All right, so let's okay. I'm about to test you right now, right? Cuban Link still telling lies.
Forgot about that one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was one of the OG. Like the beat for that is crazy, bro. Crazy.
yeah, yeah. I forgot about that one. That wasn't even on my short list. I had like 10 songs on my short list. That was not one of them.
Dog, when I was sitting and going through it, I forgot. Like I had to go back. I forgot. I didn't realize it was so many. Like it's it's a lot. Like it was this one joint I found like that I discovered like randomly. Um, it's a Tito something. Uh,
Booty.
yes,
Yeah, Tito El Bambino.
but the beat for that is insane.
Yeah, it's called Booty, and it's actually which is funny, but it's actually the first time I heard like I think that's the first reggaeton artist that really got on P. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't know if any reggaeton artist been on P since then in a sense of it being a full like
So
reggaeton like
right,
song.
right,
J Balvin came close, but J Balvin is like a pop star.
right,
That was very like
right.
rappy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, so my favorite though is Pharrell and Daddy Yankee Mamacita.
Oh, I forgot about that one too. Dang.
Because
Yeah.
people miss that because I don't know why that joint didn't make the album. It definitely should have made the album. But but
I
then
think
the sprinkle on that is the Questlove Yes Sir version that is extra crazy.
yeah. Every time Questlove collabs with him, like the In My Mind collab that he did, like where he
Yeah,
redid everything, it's crazy.
yeah.
I think a lot of times, especially with like Daddy Yankee, I know I can speak for um that side of music, the reggaeton side, is that sometimes Pharrell, and this is the same thing that happens to me, not comparing me to P, but Tyler as well and Kanye as well. Is like sometimes you're ahead of the curve and artists they feel like I've made things and I'm like I should release this and then I'm like I like nah because it's too left right field. Sometimes with Pharrell you start to see that he'll get on tracks with people and then it's like either they drop it and it's like I hate this because that artist wasn't ready for the beat or they just
Right,
don't they scrap it.
right, right. Crazy you say that. I don't know if you knew this. I literally just found out about this today. Did you know that Janet Jackson had Super Thug first?
I did because what what interview was I watching? It was an interview that I was. It was, or maybe it was an old documentary I found on YouTube that's like an hour and a half long. I did know that though.
Okay.
I did know that. I think Nori might have said it on a drink. I don't know how I know, but I know because I know Michael was trying to work with him around that time and was upset
Right.
that he didn't send him beats that sounded like Super Thug.
Right.
And
And
no,
that makes a lot more
yeah,
sense now. Like, how did you hear it? But if Janet had first, like, yeah, of course he heard it. Like that makes a ton of sense, bro. Like
correct.
I found it on YouTube this morning. I was just like, yo, this is crazy, bro. Like,
Yeah, a lot of those P beats. Like I said, people just don't be ready. I mean, there's that same thing with Ye. I mean, there's a lot of if we really dug through, there's more producers than that. There's like, oh, that was my song, and
right,
then somebody else ended up beating them to the punch and putting it out.
right,
Um, but yeah, it's crazy to see like the artists that got stuff that had things that became bigger things.
right. 100%. So I know you hype because I'm hype. The fact that we about to get another Clips record this year is like
Means everything.
it's so important to me. Like the song that they played at that late
Fashion show.
show,
Hmm.
like
About his dad.
dog. I lost my
Hmm.
dad this year, bro. So like I know like that shit's gonna hit me. But outside of that, like it sounds like an amazing song. Like that's the like
It's crazy. I actually Fake Short Drive put it on Twitter,
word,
and I like listened to that junk on my headphones like 10 times back to back to back.
dog.
That's like my favorite. He's my favorite rapper. Pushes, and for me to like be in so like close proximity of where I get to see him often, and well as often as like I said, Boss Bag's Cousins Festival, I
Yeah,
was backstage, but to be backstage with him and have candid photos of me and him having conversations and talking, like it means the most to me because it's like I travel the same streets you travel. I'm trying
right,
to do the same thing you do, you know?
right, right. So what's your favorite Clips record?
You know, I thought about this all day today. Because this is the thing. Hell have no fury from front to back is ridiculous.
No skips.
Like but I would have to say Right Around Shining. That is my joint. I don't know, like that's but a very close second, and it's not a Neptunes beat, but that outro that he did on the last album, almost dry, like that outro, Pray.
Mm.
Like that one with Malice on it was like, tell me what I miss. That
Mm-hmm.
one,
Mm-hmm.
new designer trends and the
Mm-hmm.
things I don't get.
Mm-hmm. Malice came back and said,
Yeah.
I forgot that I'm like people said I'm the better rapper. Like it's a conversation. Like let me remind y'all real quick.
I
Like
mean, he is. Pusha tell you that. He
right.
is like Pusha tell you that. I had one of my friends and collaborators that I work with, my man Anthony Austin. Um, he actually worked for Gene for a
Mm,
while for Malice when he was no Malice, and he was doing his podcast. He had a podcast,
okay.
so he would like hear things like that's how I found out about the exclusive audio footage. Was like they were talking and he found a CD in his room or something. He was giving them some old play clothes.
Yeah.
And he was like, what you know about this? And when he saw it, he was like, what is that? That's when I realized, like, oh, snap. And he ended up coming and playing it for me. And I was like, man, this was years ago. Um, but yeah, people forget, like, like, he was first. He was the rapper first.
Right.
Like,
Right.
he is, yeah. So also super humble, man. Like, every time I'm around Pharrell's team of people, Push, No Malice, Family is a big, like, me and Family have a good relationship. Um, they're always so nice, man. Like
Yeah.
everyone is so nice. And then, like I said, being in proximity, like it's crazy because like my engineer was the engineer that was working with Malice when he decided to go to No Malice. He was also working in Timberland studio before Thomas Crown for that shutdown.
Right.
So to see the proximity of how we all are mixing in the same circles is crazy. And I was gonna wait till the end, but tell you this earlier is I actually had like a point in time where I was working with a kid named Alex Ginya. He's the engineer. His
Mhm.
dad's name is Serban Ginya. He's the number one audio. Like, if you want pop records, like We're talking Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande. We're talking Bruno Mars, 24 Karat Gold. We're talking Starboy, the Weekend album. Anything that's big comes from Serban Genya. For people who are like music nerds, they know Serban is. Serban lives in Virginia Beach.
Wow.
He actually was with he was the engineer that was he was like an intern engineer that became an engineer at Teddy Riley's studio.
Got you.
So all those early Pharrell things that you hear, if you go back and look at the back of In Search of, Serban Genya was the person who mixed it.
That's crazy.
So for people who are trying to find the NERD sound, you have to use live drums and you have to use electronic drums as well. You got to mix them both together to get that crunch, to get that sound that they had. But yeah, like hearing stories of him saying, like, Serban, what's Pharrell like? Like, as soon as I realized that was it, like, this guy, mind you, I'm going into the studio that they have. He has plaques everywhere. He did the Norbit movie track. Like, he has, bro, like, it's crazy the amount of plaques that he has. These are like a secondary plaques, like Kevin Rudolph and all these big like names, like just all stuff that's just like secondary plaques, because all the big plaques are like 24 karat gold and Starboy and his first big hit that he mixed was uh I think it was called No Diggity. That was
Mm-hmm.
the first big thing he mixed. So he's been doing it since then. So I'm seeing all these plaques, and then I hear Pharrell, and I'm like, bro, you should have never told me that. Because now when I come, it's all questions. And he would tell me stories like Pharrell really was who he says he was, like going to it was Master Sound back then,
Mm-hmm.
going to Master Sound Studios, and like he'd pull up and like a Rolls Royce and hop out with like space boots on. Like come in, you're like, what? And like Snoop Dogg, and he was like Snoop Dogg would come in when like Pimp Magic Don Juan would be there with him. Like Bishop Magic Don Juan would be with Snoop Dogg, and they're like making music, and then he'll leave, and then Justin Timberlake is there, and they're working on things, and then he'll leave, and then it'll be somebody else that is like, it was crazy to hear like how out there like P really was, but how much confidence it took to be that. You know what I'm saying? To you stepping out of a Rolls Royce with space boots on when
Right.
that was unheard. Like that was really some. You're like, bro, what's going on? You know. So hearing and get to like see those like going to Master Sound, recording a song like fresh out of high school with my boy, being able to hold the Clips plaque like for Lord willing, and I'm like holding it, and I'm just like, oh, this is like I'm gonna get to do this one day. Like Khalees plaques, like you're holding them, like looking like it's so much inspiration to know that it's a small knit community and it all came from here and everything is homegrown. So when you're talking about a Clips album in 2024, when these guys have been doing this for 30 years now, it's like, and it's getting better. You're like, bro, it's
Yeah, man.
everything.
Yeah, man. Like I said, like the podcast is about, you know, kind of an oral history from all the people we have on the show of what the movement meant to us. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that I always like want this to be is a message to kids like us from Virginia that you can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like that's 100%. Whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that you want to do, you can do it too. Like
You
it
can do it too.
is like that's so like to like all those stories like really resonate with people like us because like yeah, we here like we in the 757 right now. Like I'm on Mercury Boulevard. You know what I'm saying? Like we're about to go
Yeah.
tunnel and go. You know, it's like all of this
Yeah.
like this is real, man. Like so. Last question. I always ask people this. Like you got to pick your favorite or the best, whatever. The frequent collaborators. There's a handful of people that got a bunch of records with them. Who is your favorite or the best?
Push. I just that there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no other answer. But
Yeah.
on my short list of people, Busta is definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z is definitely up there. Um, I would say if we're talking like best, so we're talking like it's a fine line. We're talking best. I would say Jadakiss is up there
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Oh man, that last Kiss of Death album, there's so many Pharrell Jones on there that is crazy. And lastly, I would say it would be a tie between T.I. and Luda.
Mm,
I would tie them together
mm,
as T.I. gave us amazing.
bro.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Like T.I., we did an episode like sometimes we like to do episodes where we battle two people and do all their
mhm.
songs. So like we did T.I. versus Nelly. And like we talked about on that episode, P executive produced the Paperwork album.
Yep.
So like T.I. said they got hundreds of songs in the tuck, and I'm just like, where they at, bro? Like like that run that T.I. was on from like trap music to Paper Trail, like he was in top five conversations, like because
Yeah.
the music was consistent, but it was consistently like really good, bro. Like
Mhm.
those raps on that Urban Legend album, like so many slaps on that Urban Legend album. But the Neptunes tracks always like he always did his thing when he got on the Neptunes track. Like, I love Good Life. I love
Living the good life.
I love
Yeah,
Oh
that's what, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh Yeah is crazy. He rapped crazy on Oh Yeah. But yeah, man, T.I. is definitely one up there. Like this conversation always usually goes to like people like us from Virginia will say push.
Oh
Like,
man,
like, but then like everyone else is kind of like, well, it's a Jay-Z versus Snoop, and then it's like, okay, cool. Well, Snoop has more, but like maybe the Jay-Z ones are a little bit more polished and smaller, but like neither one of those three answers is the wrong answer. Like,
all
honestly,
right, absolutely.
like,
And Snoop's on my short list as well. I forgot about Snoop's definitely on the short list, especially with the Bush album. I think the Bush
yeah,
album was one of the most underrated Snoop Dogg. I mean, music wise, probably any album, any genre. That Bush album was really good. I just think people didn't want to hear Snoop Dogg sing,
right,
which is okay, but it's still like really, 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 really good.
right. Like, and that's something that, P is just continue to establish himself as a guy who's going to help get people out their box and get them to do something different. Like that Bush album was, and it makes sense. The Bush album makes sense if you actually know Snoop Dogg and you actually listen
Yeah,
to who he is and what his inspirations are. Like, yeah, Snoop Dogg was raised on funk, Bootsy Collins and them. Like, so like, yeah, like
yeah, it
that's what
makes
you got.
sense.
You got that on
Yeah,
the Bush album, and it worked. Like, and it worked
well,
because it was like very much Snoop doing his thing and paying homage to that. But then, you sprinkle in raps from T.I. You sprinkle in, the joint I'm Your Dog with Kendrick and Rick Ross. Like,
yeah. I'm trying to tell you, bro, it's one of the
come
most.
on.
Kendrick's a good Pharrell collaborator too. They don't have a history. They don't have a long history of songs, but when we had three,
Yeah,
he
we
was
need
on Good Kid, Mad City. The Mr. Morale song is nuts, and then
yep.
All Right.
All right
But he
is
was also he was
anthem.
also on the NERD album though,
True,
on a
true,
few songs on that
true.
last NERD album. So yeah, that's another good. He hits the mark when it comes to P.
We need more. We need more. Like, I mean, but that's also like, Kendrick is very he hops in when he wants to. So like
Yeah,
we got those three, but
but Push, man, it's just so extensive, bro. And then coming into like even the left field thing, so you have like the song he did with Tyler, and
mhm.
then you have like that whole almost dry like the last album he put out with like the Brambleton and thing like those are
Mhm.
like Snitch.
Bro.
Dog,
I saw him in concert after the album came out in Philly. And bro, Let the Smoker Shine the Coops coming out to that is insane, bro. Like insane, dog.
just crazy, bro. Like, oh man, I think it's a thing. I realized when I started moving around and traveling, like I was with Masego at Art Basel. Um, I was I wasn't with him. Like I was there with him, but I wasn't with him that day. And I was going around to a store called the Gallery. Shout out to my homie JFT that owns that. He actually was one of the creative directors for BBC for a while.
Word.
But we were chopping it up, and then I was like brought up Push, and his all the people in it are like from Miami. Were like, nah, but we don't. I'm like, bro. They're like, nah, but we just don't know if that's like really his life. I'm like, bro. That's really his life. There's no lies being told here, but you have to understand the magnitude of the pen. Like you got to really listen to what he's talking about.
Bro.
And they're like, "Nah, he's good. He's good." I'm just like, "Nah, he's great." Like there's no like we're arguing, but I guess it's because I'm from here. I'm like,
Right.
"Yo, like he's really." They're like, "Nah, bro, we said he's good." Like we listened to him. I'm like, "Nah, I gotta like be stands in this man. Like he's the." But I guess that's just me. Me and Lo have that together when we're talking. We're like, bro, like this at any given moment you can get washed on the record. Like it's not up for debate.
Yeah, man. I mean, like a perfect example of this, right? Like one of my favorite Pusha lines is from the re-up, one of the re-up mixtapes. I can't remember which song it was, but like what'd he say? Admiring the splendor, scared because she remember how a dope dealer had ruined the life of Kimba. Like, if you're not from Virginia, you can't even
You
understand
don't
how
you don't know.
crazy that
Yeah,
is.
you don't know what's
Like
going
Kimba Smith was
exactly.
going to our elementaries and
And
middle
this school,
schools
right?
talking about that, trying to stop us from doing drugs. Like,
This is crazy, bro.
nah,
It's crazy. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
yeah, man. It's different, man. It's definitely different. And, just the fact that they're respected, like I'm grateful. I'm grateful that they respect it. Like at least they don't disrespect it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, no, and I think everyone from Virginia is respected as an artist because
yeah,
we don't have no little small time. Like even people who've had their runs had great runs.
yeah,
So Drum had a great run.
yep,
Broccoli was the number one record in the world. We
yep,
had people like Kyle running to recreate that down
right.
to the T of getting Yachty on it. Like, let's not pretend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
hotline bling didn't come from Cha Cha. Like, let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then going to my man Masego, who's from a lot of people don't know, he's from Newport News as well.
Yeah.
But coming from Masego coming out and then Drake using it for champagne poetry, like him Tadao being it's 10 times platinum
Crazy.
in an art in an era
Even
where things don't go
Lex
platinum.
Luger. Lex Luger was on
Lex
a crazy
Luger,
run.
bro,
Crazy
like
run.
my homie Raja, High Def Raja, who did a lot of stuff for all that ASAP Ferg that people love. All that stuff is from Virginia. Then you go down to obviously Timberland, Missy. You go up, get Trey, get Chris
Hmm.
Brown. Like you get, I think, isn't D'Angelo. Like
Hmm.
you get all these people, and then it's like, then you also get like Serban Genya, who's not from Virginia Beach, but he's been here since Teddy Riley days. So it's like
Right.
all those hits are still coming through Virginia. They're getting
Yep.
mixed in Virginia from Virginia. So it's just crazy, bro. It's crazy. Then you got Knots, got Bink.
Yep.
Like the list can go. We could do this forever. Like
This is
Virginia, and
crazy. This is
and I think
crazy.
Virginia is like we're so ahead of the curve that like we don't almost get skipped over, and it's like Missy Elliott is the only female that's in the Hall of Fame for songwriters, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for songwriters. Like,
Right.
what are we talking about?
Right.
Like Timberland is one of the only hip hop producers that had a crossover record. Like with what he did with One Republic, like that was to the masses of how big it was.
Everywhere. Every
Like, what are we? What are we? Pharrell has a Lego
undeniable.
movie.
It's
Like he has a
undeniable.
Lego movie.
It's
Like what are we talking?
undeniable. It's
He has a
undeniable.
Lego set. It's right there. He has a Lego set. Like what are we talking about? So yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Definitely definitely appreciative for us to grow up in this time that we did being kids from Virginia, man. Like I'm so
Mm-hmm.
thankful, man. I'm always gonna wear that on my chest like a badge of honor, man. Virginia, Richmond, 757, all of that. It's all love forever, forever,
Mm-hmm.
forever. All right, man. Let me get you out of here. What you got coming up though? Tell the people where to check you out, anything you got coming up, any projects you got coming up.
Absolutely. WhoGotNow.com, also at Who Got Now on everything. So Instagram is like my main one. I'm on X, Twitter every once in a while. I don't do TikTok. But definitely Instagram is gonna be where to find me. I have a single coming out with a producer from Holland on the 1st of November, which I haven't dropped in a year. As far as like music wise, I've been working on different projects and different albums that I have coming out. But November 1st, you'll get something from me. And then next year, 2025, it's a lot of music. It's a lot of visuals. It's a lot. I can't tell you everything, but it's going to be a lot of stuff coming out. So 2025 is definitely going to be the year of Who. So that'll be November tap in, but February time, we running and gunning the whole year next year. So stay tuned with that because there's some things. Just we'll say there's some connections, some Neptune connection stuff. We'll just say that. We'll
That's
just
what's
say
up,
that.
man. That's what's up, man. Super happy for you. Super thankful for you taking the time to chat with us, man. Like, again, this whole thing
Appreciate it.
tribute to show love to Virginia and the people that make this place great, but also that this place has helped make great. So
Yeah,
appreciate you, bro.
I'm out of here. Everything's good. I appreciate you as well, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate everybody listening. It's been another episode of Neptune Sunday. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace and love.